The Art of Getting By, which is this odd little movie starring Freddie Highmore, who seems to have made the transition from being a child actor to being an adult actor. He started out, he's the kid out of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he's in Finding Neverland, and he's now in this strange little drama playing a sort of angst-ridden adolescent on the point of getting to the end of his school career and doing that thing that you have to do at the end of it. In America they have to graduate, and he would graduate if he could hand in his homework, because he's clearly very intelligent. The problem is he can't hand in his homework because he can't address himself to his homework, because like that Woody Allen sketch, he can't hand in his homework because he understands that he's going to die in the end and the universe is all meaningless and there's no point, so really what's the point in sitting down? Do you remember that there's that thing, it is at the beginning of Annie Hall, when the character that is the Woody Allen cipher in Annie Hall is taken to the psychiatrist, and he says, what's the matter? He says, well, I've heard that the world is going to end. He says, yes, but in millions and millions of years. He said, yes, but once we know it's going to end, what's the point in doing anything? And Freddie Highmore is basically that character, and he walks around wearing the obligatory Joy Division overcoat and gazing at his shoes and having the manner of somebody who is incredibly listening to Leonard Cohen and reading Camus in the back of class, but refusing to take part in the discussion because there's no point to it. That is until he meets this alluring young woman who sparks something in him. Here's a clip.
So why don't you ever do your work?
There's so many more important things to think about. Homework ends up seeming like an afterthought.
ADD?
No, they tried everything. Ritalin, Lexapro, tutors, therapy. Nothing worked. I'm the Teflon slacker. No, it's more like we're living in a dying time, I mean, you got global warming, wars, terrorism, tsunamis.
Okay.
We're definitely on the downhill side, so what are we working towards? What's the point?
I thought I had fears, but they're pretty run-of-the-mill. Pain, death.
Oh, not me. I fear life.
So, it's very easy to sneer at this film, and in fact, a lot of people in the screening that I was in did. The nicest thing I can say about it sounds like the most backhanded of all compliments, which is that when they finally blew it in the end, I really wished they hadn't. Freddie Highmore was very good. It is, in the end, a film about, somebody being full of angst and ennui and reading Camus and listening to Leonard Cohen. And there is a part of you that wants to scream, oh, for heaven's sake, just get over it and get on with it. But that's, obviously that's not the solution to the problem. In fact, it's a lot more engaging than it could be. It's got a very, very self-consciously indie-pindy, oodly-poodly sort of feel about it, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. But about half an hour into it, I realised that it was reminding me slightly, although I don't think it is anything like as good as this, but it was reminding me of a film which I've mentioned here before, which is Jeremy, a film from the 1970s, which played as a B-movie when it played in UK cinemas. It played as the supporting feature to Breakheart Pass, the Charles Bronson film. But in fact was a really lovely, heartbreaking story about teenage love that I think played in the Cannes Film Festival and is now generally well regarded, although for ages was unavailable. And there was something about The Art of Getting By, just something, not a lot, but just something about it that had that same sort of wistful sense of, doomed teenage romance. And it kind of worked. Yes, every now and then the contrivance got more of it, and every now and then you just felt like you did want to scream and go, oh, just stop it, just behave yourself. But as it moved towards its finale, I started to realise that it actually might be more interesting than perhaps it could be. And I don't want to give away the ending but as we were moving towards the end, I was thinking, okay, don't blow it, don't blow it, don't blow it, don't blow it. And they didn't, and then they did. And it was an indication of how much I actually was enjoying it, that when they finally blew it, I went, oh, I was actually quite good. Because had I been as disengaged as perhaps I could have been, I just wouldn't have cared, which is it's completely incidental and flimsy. And in fact, I've seen some of the other reviews and they've not been particularly good at all. Although I think most people accept that Freddie Highmore does a very good job. But the indication of the extent to which I liked it was that when it finally messed up, I was genuinely disappointed. As I say, I know that sounds like a terribly backhanded compliment, but I do mean it in a good way. I'm not meaning for 1 minute to say that the film is remarkable, because it isn't, but it has at the heart of it, underneath everything else, there is something quite charming about it, and it's just a shame that it didn't quite follow through.
If I was going to be reading Camus, where should I start?
Well, L'Étranger. But the key to it is it's not where you start. It's the attitude that you.
What is a Camus style
well,
attitude?
Dear, everything, life is rubbish.
That's cool. That's a kind of a Gauloise.
Yeah, it is. Yes, smoking Gauloise.
So is a Gauloise thing the same? I don't know. Gitan obviously is.
Well, I'm not a smoker, Simon. So
me neither. But I just wonder, is a Camus attitude the same as a Gauloise or Gitan attitude?
I think it's Gauloise, isn't it? I think that's the if it's Gauloise, the French cigarette that with that horrible black, when you inhale it, it's like inhaling next to a sort of a noxious factory.
It is, but it has this apparently it's kind of reputation for being glamorous.
As Kurt Vonnegut said about giving up smoking, he said the problem with giving up smoking is that what you gain in the health department, you lose in the dramatic gestures department.
Right, but I'm going to go back to Radio 2 when we've finished reading your book, just catching up on the bits that I might have skipped earlier. Just
that
so
would be all of it, yeah.
But if I was reading Camus, I just want to know, if you're sitting on public transport, would it impress people if you had some works from Bob Camus?
Well, can I be honest with you? I'm not a Camus reader.
Have you not read it?
No, I was never one of those people. I mean, I was never one of those people who did that. As far as I was concerned,
This is flamboyant and bohemian, though.
Who, me?
No, is it?
No, it's the opposite of flamboyant and bohemian. It's the sitting. Life is so. I can't even talk to you. I'm having an existential crisis. There's no point having a girlfriend because that. But I say that I haven't read any. I've got no interest in it. I was reading Kurt Vonnegut and science fiction and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and The Great Gatsby, books with stories and fun.
Okay,
can I very quickly do a review of Attenborough?
Just before you do that, if I'm going to download, it might be that I can download some Camus before.
I know nothing about Camus.
I'm not going to ask you. I'm asking. Yeah, if there's, we'll have a Camus expert. We'll probably have a professor with Camus studies, and this is Camus the person as opposed to the almost extinct Aboriginal dialect. Thank you very much. So if you're a Camus expert, can you just send us an email and tell me what I should read? A tweet from John Beecher. I think it's hard to remove the sense of disappointment from this tweet. For some reason, I always thought of Kermode as one of the Camus kids. I'm a little surprised, he says.
Terribly sorry. Never was. I was never one of those people that read annoying, battered paperbacks by philosophers worrying about the existence. No, I read paperbacks about spaceships and planets exploding and, science fiction.
This on the subject of Camus. Can you please stop misrepresenting Camus? It was Sartre who was the depressing nihilistic one. Camus was an existentialist, but a happy one. This is from Matthew, not a Camus expert, but hates the radio when it gets it wrong.
Okay.
Nash.
That just reminds me of that Alexei Sayle line about that Jean-Paul Sartre. He was so stupid he didn't know he existed. I proved he existed. I nutted him.
Matt Stevens, B.A. Cantab, hissed. Sorry, but the good doctor has got Camus upside down and back to front. Camus' philosophy was man dies, yet he is still not happy. Given that humans only have a limited time on the planet, the idea that they would waste that time being unhappy is foolish. So go swimming, enjoy the sunshine, find a girlfriend, but also be aware that sometimes a man's got to do what a man's got to do, like fighting Nazis, as Camus did, to ensure that this world where you are free to go swimming, enjoy the sun, find a girlfriend continues to exist.
Well, as I said, and I said it quite, what I know about Camus wouldn't fill the back of a very small postage stamp because I read science fiction.
J.S.B. Bradley, I did him for A-level 20 years ago. La Peste and L'Étranger. The former is longer and has more plot, emotionally moving. The latter is shorter and quite internal. One character stuff. And Jen in Paris. Camus believed in absurdism. We value our lives and existence so greatly, but at the same time we know we will eventually die and ultimately our endeavours are meaningless. We have no control over our lives, but why not have some fun while you're here? Très français, non?
Very good. Once again, I'm impressed by the fact that our listenership is, I have to say, academically way ahead of either you or I.
I think they're studying Camus as we speak. No, they're listening to your top reviews.
L'Étranger, funnily enough, the only reason when you said to me, what Camus would you know, the reason I said L'Étranger was because when I was at school, there was a band called the Bystanders who made a record, a 7-inch record that had pressed up, and the cover of the record was a screen print of the front cover of Camus' L'Étranger, which was of a woman smoking a cigarette, drinking a cup of coffee, and looking frankly a bit miserable.